Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please adjust your listening device to its maximum volume in preparation for some great times and real talk. Welcome to the Blowed Out Podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there right now that you cannot believe how long I've been working on that new intro. And God damn, I'm really not convinced, to be honest. Sorry, that was my headphones. I'm really not convinced that that is the one. Can someone please give me some feedback? I kind of like it. I mean, I ain't doing backflips or anything, but man, I bet I've spent an hour, 30, 40 takes maybe. You guys, you just can't fucking imagine how hard or this really is. And I get that sounds stupid. It should just be talking into a mic, but good Lord. I never thought it was going to be this much work. But I do it for you guys. I'm having fun, but I'm trying to make it the best possible experience for all you guys at the same time. So, you're welcome. And yes, I know I'm overdue. I apologize. Life and everything else. Honestly, this time of year kicks my fat ass just to death. Every time the decides to go from sunny to rainy, back to sunny to everything else, it just beats the hell out of my body, which is, interestingly enough, a not very entertaining preface into a story. I was going to say, it's super sunny here and finally starting to warm up, which my skin appreciates. I unfortunately have the eczema, and my skin really appreciates the vitamin D being rubbed all over it. Perverts. I know what you were thinking. Anyhow, the story to go along with that is not only do I have the eczemas, but I also, and a lot of you know this, and I apologize, you're going to hear the story again for the 10 millionth time, but in 2008, a lot of you don't know, I had a can of race fuel explode on me out on the Bonneville Salt Flats. Well, technically, I was not actually on the Salt Flats. I was in camp, just down the road while we were preparing to go racing. I had a 5-gallon can of methanol race fuel explode on me. Went off like a bomb in my chubby giant digits and burned severely, third, fourth, fifth, I don't know how many ever degrees no skin is. Burned 35% of my body, give or take, something like that. Basically, oh Lord, my entire Buddha from nipples to nuts, well, minus the mushroom tip, but thank God. Not like there's a whole lot there to brag about, but at least it wasn't burned. All the skin was gone there. I mean, my entire Buddha looked like, in fact, it was crazy, like the edges, I mean, the far edges, like my lats, all of the surrounding area was curled back kind of like a potato chip on the edges. I remember that as I was starting to go into shock. Excuse me. Also, all the skin off of my fingers. I guess in the past I've always said my hands, but it wasn't, I mean, like the tops of my hands were okay, but my fingers, my fingers were not good. I mean, like I could have picked up like, well, ooh, Lord, I was going to say I could have, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and edit that part out mentally, possibly in the real take of this episode, but I just had something terrible pop into my mind having to deal with little people. Who am I kidding? Midgets. I love y'all midgets, but you're still midgets. And my giant, burnt, blistered, bratwurst fingers. However, back to where I left off. So basically all my fingers, the skin was burned off, and my knuckles, also like down my right wrist, the top of my left thigh, the back of my right thigh, and like half of my right calf. It was good times. My fat ass, and no, for those of you who are obviously going to assume, no, I was not drunk. In fact, I had only been there for, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes. I had actually just cracked a delicious Anheuser-Busch product, and we were just getting ready to set up camp. So no, I was not intoxicated. What I wish, actually, is that I had video of my dumbass once I could hear again slightly and see again. I wish there was some video that existed of me dancing around looking like, the Kool-Aid man on fire, trying to rip off the what was left of my clothing as I was being burned alive. I'm sure it was entertaining to watch, although frightening. Whatever. Probably smelled like bacon. I'd watch it and laugh now. However, getting to be long story short, I ended up, like I said, being burned severely. The explosion, thank God, woke up some fellow racers who got to see me running around looking like an idiot on fire, and smothered me, thank God, tackled me and smothered me with their sleeping bags, which, thank you, Ray, and your dad, is probably the only reason I'm alive to have this conversation today. Anyhow, I was going to try and drive myself to the clinic. Wendover, Utah, Wendover, Nevada, same damn place basically, which is the closest thing to the Bonneville Salt Flats. And of course, they were closed. I was just going to go try and get some burn cream because, I thought that was going to do the trick in shock. And so, because obviously I denied an ambulance, so then I was going to drive myself to Salt Lake after I had kind of sat on the tailgate of my truck for a moment and realized that, I can't just go to bed with these injuries, or at least as much as it burns. And now I'm shaking so hard that I'm actually coming off of the tailgate. So I was going to drive myself to Salt Lake because that was, according to 911, that was my option if I didn't want an ambulance. Yeah, actually, that was the option, period, ambulance or not. So I was going to drive myself as to not impose any further, like problems on everyone that was there that was going to race several hours later that needed to go back to bed so they could get up and go racing. And only when I realized that I couldn't, and I tried to climb in my truck to drive myself, and I couldn't. My truck was tall enough that I had to hoist my chunky butt in, grabbing a hold of the steering wheel, and I couldn't grasp the steering wheel. So I finally had to concede that I needed a ride to Salt Lake. So they loaded me crosswise, I guess would be the right word, on the back seat of another 4-door truck, and proceeded to head for Salt Lake City. And at this point, again, I'm shaking so hard, you can't even imagine. It was excruciating. I mean, like I said, I don't recommend it, and I don't wish that upon anybody by any damn means. So I made it about 9 miles before I tapped. It was just so bad. The pain was so bad that I said, you know what, after about 9 miles, or 8 miles, I guess, maybe, because we only went a little bit farther, I said, you know what, never mind. Call 911 back, get that ambulance coming, because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, Christ, at least they can give me a shot of something for this pain. It's ridiculous. So, of course, they said, pull over, otherwise we're just going to chase you all the way to Salt Lake. So we did, and I laid there just violently shaking on the back seat of that truck until the ambulance showed up on the shoulder of the freeway. They showed up, loaded me in the ambulance, and ended up taking me from where we were there with a really, really hot, sweet chick in the back, which is super cool, because the first thing they do is cut off the brand new board shorts that I just barely put on after what clothing was left was burnt off. I pulled on a pair of shorts because I'm fucking burnt and naked laying in the goddamn salt flats, or in salt mud in the damn desert. So of course why wouldn't there be a really gorgeous woman in the ambulance to look at my disgusting, burnt, fat body? And as a side note, pool shrinkage has nothing on burnt shrinkage. Like, I'm pretty sure that it took me a month of like sitting on a broom handle just to push that baby back out. FYI, if you ever get burnt, don't plan on seeing your penis for a long time. Anyhow, sorry I got sidetracked. So the ambulance ended up taking me about, Lord, I don't know. It's been long enough. This was 2008, so as near as I can recall, I think they took me 21 miles to where the helicopter met up. And then I had a really expensive, nifty helicopter flight to the University of Utah Burn Trauma Unit, where I spent the next several days being scrubbed and everything else. Sorry. I got sidetracked where I was going with that. So between my eczema and a lot of my skin being not so 47 years old, the sun really does me a lot of good. So it's sun's out, bun's out, and I hope all you guys will do the same. Take advantage of some great weather. Hopefully you're having great weather where you're at. I like how I just added that part because clearly I know that there are a lot of places in the world that aren't having great weather. And I almost apologize for that. Not that it matters, not that it's my fault, but, hey, sorry you just had a typhoon. Or, or you're having winter now. The winter part, though, we suffered through ours. So, it's interesting. Part of, there's a hell of a lot of that story that I left out. Just because, obviously, it was starting to drag on, and I could go on and on for days. Which, unfortunately, a lot of my dear friends have already heard me do. But an interesting side note about that I thought about the other night at work while we were talking shit, which, it's what we do. I love it. I love talking shit. But I do it playfully, And I'll come back to that in a minute, hopefully. The opioid epidemic in this country, or globally, Christ, for that matter, and more specifically, fentanyl epidemic, it's real, guys. I mean, not that necessarily anyone didn't think so, but the part of that story, or one of the parts of that story about me being burned that I left out, is I told him in the ambulance, I said, I really hate to sound like like I'm just a shitty poo butt here, but man, I probably, I'd suck you off for an aspirin right now. Just anything, just anything to kind of take the edge off that pain. And I remember the guy in the back of the ambulance who turned out to be the gorgeous woman's husband. Christ, of course. Here I am flirting with this chick, Bern, and she says, well, Ryan, I'd like you to meet my husband, Mike or Bill or Jim or whatever his name was. It was all good. It was all in fun, just like this podcast and everything else, just like my shitty humor. It's all in fun. But when I said, hey, man, I hate to sound like a junkie poo butt or something, but God, like really, I'll you just go ahead and shove it in there, give me an aspirin, and I'll take care of you, big boy. And he said, well, unfortunately, if I give you what we have, then the helicopter can't give you what they have. And it was at that point that I said, no, I don't need a helicopter, bro. No, I'm good. Just drive on. Give me some ibuprofen and just drive. And he said, no. Well, that's when I found out that I was at least 35% burned. Because he said, by my estimations, you're at least 35%. And anyhow, once they loaded me in the helicopter on top of an overpass, mind you, on Interstate 84. Hell, I can't remember. 80 or 84. The flight nurse in the helicopter started just shoving giant vials of morphine into my IV that the ambulance had put in. He says, well, okay, now how's that? And I said, how's what? Well, hurts like shit. Kind of want to jump out of this fucking helicopter right now and die. I mean, okay, so he put another big one. I mean, big ones, like, I mean, what, definitely bigger than my burn shrinkage, but probably like, hell, I don't know. I mean, obviously I wasn't in my greatest mental capacity at the time, but like a 4-inch, a 4-inch-ish syringe of morphine. He'd push another one, and then he'd, turn on his little flashlight and look at my eyeballs, and, okay, what about that one? And okay. And I'm just laying there thinking, like, what? Okay, what is this? An exercise in ridiculousness? I don't know. Oh, well, so turns out morphine doesn't do anything to me. I distinctly recall him radioing me. For those of you who have never been in an ambulance or a life flight, which I genuinely hope that if you haven't, you never do. They are in constant radio contact with whatever facility they are going to take you to. So I remember him, like speaking into his little headset, his helmet headset, to the, turned out to be like the charge nurse, I don't know, dispatcher, some sort of person at the U of U burn trauma unit, and was telling this woman, who I could hear, that there's a speaker inside the chopper, so, if for whatever reason you didn't have your headset on, you could still hear it, so there's a speaker, like a loudspeaker kind of thing. And at this point, we're not flying. We're still sitting on top in the very middle of this overpass in the middle of goddamn nowhere, West Desert, Utah. So, it's loud because it's running, but it's not powered up. It's not, not flying. We're just sitting there idling, basically. So I can hear her. And then I'm watching him, and I can kind of hear him, and he says, I just gave him, I don't know, 100 more units or 10,000 more units. I have no idea. I'm just a dumb redneck. So however many more units for like the second or third time, and he would say, he's completely unresponsive to it. And I hear, the woman on the speaker, you gave him how much, or, oh my God, some sort of response to that nature. And he says, he's just, and so I'm laying there going, yeah, he gave me a bunch more. And I literally did not feel a thing. I mean, like ibuprofen, I feel like at the time I would have felt more, like more of a reaction to it than whatever. Like I said, I honest to God, at the time I would have told you it was saline, which obviously is not good because he said it was morphine, which I feel like I should have felt, but I didn't. Nothing, not even the slightest little anything. So he says, okay, well, I hate to do this, but what about this one? And he pushes this thing into the IV, and immediately, immediately it is, oh, and maybe it felt, I'm obviously felt semi-euphoric, because, after several minutes and several attempts at this other thing, I finally felt something, and so it was just kind of oh, yeah, okay. Oh, well, at least I know that's there. And then it was just like oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that's okay, that's doing something. And so he says, okay, what about that? Do you feel that? And I said, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I can actually tell that you've. And immediately, I just chunk my guts everywhere. I mean, just out of nowhere. Just like, oh, yeah, I can kind of feel that. And then just, boosh, void my everything in my body off the side of the gurney in this helicopter. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I threw up in your helicopter. And he says, yeah, that's why I didn't want to give that to you. He says, because that's what happens. I'm like, well, what? Jesus, what was it? He's like, it's fentanyl. Fentanyl, however you want to pronounce it. I said, oh, okay. Well, so for the next, I don't know, I feel like it was 3 days, might have been 5, I don't know. The place is an assembly line, because in my case, they wanted to do skin grafts, but I was on blood thinners at the time, so they weren't comfortable doing skin grafts, obviously, or couldn't because of the blood thinners. So they basically just wrapped my ass up in gauze and sent me home. And I spent from September 19th until, oh Lord, damn near Christmas before I had skin back on all my parts. I remember going back to work. I was still on base at the time, on Hill Air Force Base, rebuilding C-130s, doing depot level maintenance on C-130s. And I remember being broke and out of leave and out of donated leave and out of ESB and shit, you name it. I needed to go back to work. There was just no option. But there were still parts of my abdomen that had no skin. I mean, I went back to work with, like if you lifted up my shirt, I was still covered in gauze. But so for however many days that I was in the hospital, every year, twice a day, they would come in and be like, okay, well, here's, we're getting ready to go scrub you down, scrub all the dead flesh off and everything. Again, holy shit, horrific experience. Please don't if you have the option to not. But, they would take you into this big kind of, almost like a locker room shower, I guess, to do the scrubbing. And so twice a day for however many days I was there, they would come in about, 15, 20 minutes before it was go time and give me a shot of fentanyl and wait for me to chunk my guts into the garbage can or the little bowl or bucket or whatever. And then it was go time. And it was kind of, that shit is no joke. I mean, yeah, it's not a big surprise that there's a damn epidemic, and that shit kills people. Because I remember it. Like I said, that was the only way I could physically tolerate them literally scrubbing the dead flesh off my body. It's interesting, and a lot of the people who know this story love this part, is that when I left the hospital, because they couldn't do or wouldn't do the skin graft, they basically said, okay, well, we need you to, we need a family member to come down so we can teach them how to care for you for the next X amount of time until you're, healed. So when I left the hospital, my mother and my sister had rented me a hospital bed, like a whatever, home hospice, whatever, hospital bed to put in my room so I could lay there all gross and oozy and covered in gauze. And I remember, like, either the first night or the first day or the next morning or whatever after I had gotten home, I was still so loopy. They sent me home with Lortabs, which is super cool, because why wouldn't you give someone who's missing, half, maybe not quite half, but we'll just call it half. Let's give someone who's missing half their skin a painkiller that literally makes you itchy as fuck and crawl out of your skin. God, it was the worst. And I hated every second of it, but you had to have something. However, though, when I remember, like, within the first 24 hours or so of me arriving at home from the hospital, still having fentanyl run through my veins. I remember laying in that hospital bed, and I looked down, and my twacked out fentanyl brain thought that the nurses, as a going away present, had dipped my nipples in chocolate. Oh, shit. I still remember it plain as day. I thought, oh my God, those silly nurses. They're so thoughtful. They dipped my nipples in chocolate to send me home. Well, unfortunately, that was scabs, not chocolate. But that shit is so ridiculous that I genuinely thought my nipples had been dipped in chocolate by the nurses as a going away present. I really don't know where I'm headed with this story anymore, but I can guarantee that my kid sister, still to this day will verify that I told her, look, those nurses dip my nipples in chocolate. Silly girls. Not gonna lie, kids. I took a pee break, we'll call it. Ended up going outside and getting some sun on my bod. On my body. And now I have lost all direction and focus. I had a bunch of things I wanted to rant about, and I am torn, not torn on ranting about them, but torn on what I was going to call it. I'm a huge Family Guy fan. Huge. So, those of you who know what grinds my gears, I kind of would like to do a segment, a similar segment, but I can't call it that, in good conscience. Well, that, and I don't want to be sued. Not that I think I would, because, they're never going to hear it, probably. But I want it to be my own. Same premise, but at least my own name, for hell's sake. So, I don't know. I've got a few in mind, like what burns my bag. I don't know. If you guys got some good ideas, let me know. Holler at me. Jeez, never get any feedback from you guys. I feel like this is a single-sided relationship. I feel like this is Bobby Brown just beating on the bathroom door with no response from the bathtub. Like, hey, Whit! Hey, yo, Whit, you know I got to get ready. Why you in there? You still in the tub? Come on. Yeah, I know it's messed up, but it's funny. And it also happens to be one of Shane and I's favorite things to talk about at work. Or at least yell back and forth at work. Huh? Shout out to all the work wives that make going to work every day bearable. So, just a couple of things that burn my bag, or I don't know. Like I said, I haven't decided on a name, but you get the premise. First of all, same dipshit goddamn contractors. Yes, I am still operating from my kitchen counter because the contractor, Jeremy, once again, we'll just go with Jeremy for now. However, I am rapidly approaching last name, company name, and possibly phone number if this mother trucker does not finish my goddamn basement so I can set up the studio. Anyhow, shitbag contractors that either do a shitty job in the first place or don't own their shit and fix it after the fact when they get called out. That's one thing. Second thing, we all know drivers. Ooh. It's funny. It's funny to me. And I apologize to anyone who's about to get offended. Trigger alert. I don't care. However, one of my absolute go-tos is I will punch a Haitian baby. That is nothing against Haitians. So before you go getting all triggered and try and cancel me, it has nothing to do with Haitians. Babies, however, has absolutely everything to do with babies. Babies are fucking gross. I don't like them. I don't want to see your baby. Sorry. I hate babies. Just me. Sorry. Now you know. Don't like babies. Don't want to see your baby. Don't want to hold your baby. Don't want to hear your baby. Oh, God, shoot me in the face if I have to hear your baby. Nope. Baby free since 2003 or 1993 or 1983. Ugh, God. Gross. Shitty little disgusting creatures. No. I'm out. Sorry. Hate babies. But my go-to phrase when some dirtbag cuts me off or pulls in front of me going slow, or can't decide what lane they want to be in, or can't figure out what fucking planet they're on, and has no business being on the road or anywhere near me in traffic, one of my go-tos is, I swear to God, if you don't get out of my way or figure your shit out, I will punch a Haitian baby. It's just a little saying I've adopted. Yes, it's technically not right. And no, I would never actually punch a Haitian baby. But it is just kind of my thing, and we all know that my humor is like food. Not everybody gets it, so that's my thing. Once again, if you can't figure your shit out in a vehicle on a public road with thousands of other people around you, get the fuck out. Go home. Uber. Take a bus. I don't care. Sell your car. Relinquish your license. And just don't. Just don't. You'll make everyone's lives better. If your shitty driving or your shitty driving decisions endanger everyone around you, you shouldn't. Just food for thought, kids. I realize I sound bitter, and sometimes I wonder if I really am. But is it bitter or is it reality? You know, is it the fact that I didn't wake up sniffing roses and skipping to work like Shane? Shout out, Shane. Yep. Fucking happy bitch. Just kidding. No, there's so many things. Come on, man. The world is full of enough horse shit. We don't need no mess like that. Just, come on. Get your shit figured out, folks. Just please, get it figured out. Get it figured out. Damn it. It's my Canadian impersonation sneaking out. Well, fair enough. I'm just trying to make a dollar. Not really. Not really. I do it because I love it. And I hope you guys love it too. Speaking of which, segue unintentionally. We just surpassed 235 downloads, y'all. Damn, that's so awesome. And thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Oh, speaking of which, shout out to our Canadian friends who have recently joined the show. We're international now, baby. It's surreal. You guys can't imagine how weird this is and how much I appreciate it. And it's honestly awesome. We're pushing 250 downloads in, oh Lord, I don't even know how many states, as well as now 2 countries, and I don't know, just under 90 days, I think. I mean, don't get me wrong, I haven't ordered the Ferrari just yet, but trust me, when I do, I will take you for a ride. I have no problems with that. Again, thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're having as much fun as I am. I wish that I felt like doing it every couple of days, and I also hope with, now that the weather's kind of trying to stabilize and get a little bit of that D on my face. Son of a D on my face. Anyhow, I hope that, everything will just kind of fall together, and it'll keep going. Again, we got stickers. Oh, that's the other thing. I've been diligently, God, against my will, and it's not because I don't want to. It's because it's hard. Diligently working on the merchandise store, which is up and running, but there's only like one thing in there right now, and that's what's kicking my ass. Is I'm just a dumb wrench turning kind of guy. This computer mess, man. So I'm trying to figure out, how to like get the images all right and everything for the merchandise store. It's just not easy for me, which sounds dumb. Granted, I'm not that dumb, but apparently I'm just a little bit old school. So, hopefully that'll be up and running with a bunch of stuff in the next several days. If anybody can help me out with how to separate the logo from the white square that it shows up as. It's just ridiculous. Anyhow, so the merchandise store will be up and running soon. I've still got a bunch of stickers. If you want a sticker or, an autographed pair of panties or something, hit me up. Like I said, I hope you guys are having fun and enjoying it. Hit me up on Facebook at Blowed Up Podcast, Twitter, same thing, Blowed Up Podcast, blowedouppodcast@gmail.com. I realized that, towards the end of this episode we got a little bit wanky, but janky, wanky. I might go get a little wanky, but anyhow, episode 10, guys. Thank you again so much. Episode 10 and almost 250 downloads. I'm blown away. I can't thank you all enough. Like I said, hit me up. Let's put some stuff together. Christ, just ask me for stuff. Whatever. If you need, again. Now that the weather's getting nice, let's do, car shows or, charity events, or barbecues. Hell, let's just sit in the damn backyard and drink some beer, whatever. Anyhow, holler at me. Let me know what we can do. We'll talk to you guys real soon. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Love y'all. Cheers.